think about leaving. I'm gonna kill you and I'll kill us both if I have to. And there ain't nothing stopping me either. Not you, not your homegirl, not anyone. I'll see to it. Shut up! No one can hear you! Shut up! You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. Shut up!
God.
He was always, saying hi to me, always giving me pictures of him, and just always, talking to my mom real nice, and coming over to my house, talking to me, bringing me flowers, buying me things. And I kind of liked it, flattered me. And my homegirls would tell me that he liked me, and his homeboys would tell him that I liked him. So one night, we all went out to the movies, me, him, and my homeboys and my homegirls, and they were in the movies. He was treating me really good. He bought my ticket, bought the candy and everything, and I knew he was high on drugs, and him and his homeboy started drinking in the movie theater. And it kind of didn't really bother me, but he started getting kind of rude and saying mean things, about my body, and just talking bad to me. And it's like I kind of got mad about it. And I remember going after the movies, we left and went back to the certain place I was living. One of my homegirls I was living with, and I told him I didn't want to talk to him anymore because he was, how he was acting in the movie theater. And he started, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I really like you."
Characteristics of a person that is going to commit a date rape. There just aren't any. There's no profile. There's nothing to say that you have to look for this or you have to look for that, or only this type of person will do it, or only that type, or this is the financial status or this is not. No such thing. No such thing. The whole thing is that you have to be careful. You have to protect yourself. And if you are date raped, you have to tell. If you don't tell, then this person goes off scot-free, and silence does mean consent. So it's important that you tell so that these things can be taken care of.
So I went into the house and went in my room, went to bed, and I just know all the homeboys and the homegirls were outside kicking it, partying, getting high and stuff, and I could hear him walk into my room. And I told him to leave, that I didn't want to talk to him, I was mad. And at that point he came over, and he got on top of me and straddled me, had my hands pinned down and told me he knew I wanted it. And I was like, wanted what, He's like, you wanted it, you want to have sex right now. And I was just like, yeah, right. And then he started saying too that he heard that, that I sleep around real easy, and I was like, that's not true. And he got on top of me, like I said, and straddled me, started buttoning my shirt. And the girl I lived with, her little brother had handcuffs, and they were on the side of the dresser. And he grabbed the handcuffs, and I was screaming, and he handcuffed me to the bed, and I could hear everybody outside partying. I'd cry for help, telling him to stop, rape. I was even screaming that, and he slapped me and told me to shut up. And he took off my bra and started kissing me, gave me hickeys all over my neck and stuff. And then he started buttoning my pants, and all I could do was move my legs, and I was screaming for help, and no one was helping me. And at that point, he pulled out his gun and told me to shut up or he'd kill me. And so, of course, I shut it up because I didn't want to die, and I knew he was serious because he had stuck the gun in my mouth. And I just remember him taking off my pants, and I remember looking over at the window, and I saw three guys, three of my homeboys just standing there laughing and watching. And at that point, he took off my, my panties, whatever you want to say. And that's when he did. And I just remember just looking and no one would help me, and I was just crying, and no one came in, and I just remember I was also bleeding very bad, and because it was my first time, and your first time for, having sex like that. We had other, I don't know. This is very hard. I just, and I didn't say anything to anybody about it. My homegirl came in and she claimed that she didn't hear me screaming.
Help! Get me off of this! I didn't hear you! Get me off of this! I didn't hear anything. I can't believe you. You're supposed to be my homegirl, you know?
One of the problems that may occur after a date rape is that the client or the victim may choose to go back to the abuser. She will do this for a number of reasons. Her own neediness, because somehow he has convinced her that she in fact was to blame, or that he in fact was so sorry for what happened and that this will never happen again. She believes it.
I was so screwed up in my head, but I'm off now. I don't do drugs no more. Changed man. Just for you. I do all this just for you.
She really believes that what he is saying is true. The sincerity within his being is so obvious to her that she feels that yes, in fact, she can trust him again. And so she takes him back.
I want you to take all the money. I want you to go right here. Buy anything you want.
Really?
I wouldn't get for you. You know. I love you.
Thanks. I love you too.
And at first, I ignored him, but then he started, like I said before, he kept on bringing flowers to me, and he really proved to me that he did care about me, and that he loved me. And so, I know I'm stupid for ever going back to him, and I did, but even it just got worse. Like 3 weeks after it had happened, it got worse again. He started, beating me every day.
This is very much like any place where a woman lives in abuse. Abuse is a very interesting situation for a woman because besides taking her back because she believes his place of contrition, she often takes him back because she believes that she can help him and help him heal.
But that's, what he did to me, it makes me look at, I can't talk to other guys. It makes me hate guys. It really does. I don't trust any guys anymore because you never know. They could seem like the nicest person, and look what happened.
Once a girl has been raped, she feels total betrayal. She has been abused to a point where she may never be able to trust again. She feels guilt because she thinks that maybe she helped cause this. She feels anger. She feels depressed. There are so many feelings that go along with this because she has been defiled. Her temple has been defiled, and it will take a lot of therapy to heal her.
Just like rape is just like being molested. You'll never forget it. Never forget it. I was also molested by my mom's ex-husband since I was, I would say, 3 years old till I was 7, and that was very hard too. And and the thing is, after the first time, my ex raped me, you know how he started apologizing and all that, and he knew. I had told him what had happened to me, and I told him I didn't want to be touched a certain way, and he would still go ahead and do it just to make me mad, and that's just, I remember, when he would touch me those certain ways, flashbacks when I was little. My mom always tells me, how can you remember that? And I would tell her certain things, and you never forget. Like kids say, they never forget.
Well, I think date rape starts when if the person is trying to make sexual advances towards you and you tell them to stop and they don't. I think that's when date rape begins.
I think date rape is when you're out with someone, doesn't matter where, and they start touching you and you feel uncomfortable and basically feel violated.
Either someone like a friend or someone, and you go out somewhere with them and they do something to you don't want them to do, and you ask them to stop and they do it anyways. That's, in my opinion, date rape.
Date rape is something where someone is moving sexually forcefully upon you and you don't want it, and they're just touching you and feeling you in ways you don't want.
I have a real problem. I don't know, going to the, the girls get checked once a year. I have a real problem. I get very scared. I start shaking, doing, the pap smears. I can't. I have to go to my family doctor. I don't care if it's 2 hours, 3 hours away, I'll have to go to him. I don't want anybody else touching me.
One of the things that may occur with a person after a date rape is they may experience flashbacks. Flashbacks are experiences or reoccurrences of the experience of the rape. Anything can cause these flashbacks to occur. A song, a smell, a place, a picture, a movie, whatever it is that triggers the flashbacks will cause these feelings to occur, and sometimes even a revisiting of the exact experience.
Date rape today is often aided by drugs called GHB, Rohypnol, ecstasy, some of the more popular drugs being used.
The only date rape drugs I'm aware of is a drug called ecstasy. But I know there's other drugs that are out there that guys put, and even girls do it too, put in your drink at parties to get you, for their friends and them to, to rape you. I know my sister's done ecstasy, and she's, had her things happen to her, and I guess the ecstasy just makes you want to have sex with everybody in the room. It's like a, I don't know if I can say this, but it's like a big old orgy or something, and some girls like it, but the pills I've heard about, but it's never happened to me. But I know it's been common for a lot of the rapes with teens. It's guys, so if I were you, I'd pour my own drink or, buy my own soda or something, because you never know. You never know who's putting what in your drinks or your food or I don't know, you know what I mean? You never know.
Very often we find in these date rapes that drugs have been used, or alcohol. One of the most common drugs is Rohypnol. It's a drug that's pretty lethal. It's a drug that causes amnesia. It's a drug that gets the victim to such a place that they are totally helpless, incapable of helping themselves or freeing themselves. This drug also will stay in the system from 48 to 72 hours. Alcohol is often used as well. Anything that will keep the person at a helpless place. And these drugs are easy to find. They're easy to buy. They are available to the teens.
GHB, ecstasy, Rohypnol. Why are they called the date rape drugs? They have been called the sexual assault drugs because of their potential to cause blackouts and amnesia at high doses. GHB is consumed orally in capsule form or as a grainy white powder. Sometimes it's dissolved in liquids like water or alcoholic beverages and then consumed. Many times, GHB is substituted for ecstasy, speed, or cocaine. Slang terms for GHB include grievous bodily harm, easy lay, gook, liquid 10, liquid E, soap, scoop, salty water, G-rific, and cherry meth. Street price is $3 to $5 per dose. Rohypnol is about 10 times the strength of Valium. It's a small white tablet and is usually taken orally, although there are reports that it has been grounded up and snorted. After taking Rohypnol, the user may feel intoxicated, then sleepy that will last up to about 8 hours. Rohypnol can cause deep sedation, respiratory distress, blackouts, amnesia, where the user forgets events and in some cases causes them to become aggressive. Slang terms for Rohypnol include roach, roofies, R2, rib and rope. Street price $1 to $5 per pill.
It's weird because about a month ago I had a nightmare about my ex, and the rape and all that. But I remember you never forget. I could hear his voice. I remember.
You ain't going nowhere. You can think you're going somewhere, but in this neighborhood, I'm top dog. It say, you bound down to me. You pay dues to me. You even think about leaving. I'm gonna kill you and I'll kill us both if I have to. And there ain't nothing stopping me either. Not you, not your homegirl, not anyone.
The way I was laying, I remember how the way I turned my head looking out, people watching me, and him doing this to me. If it was reversed, if I was outside watching somebody get raped, I'd have been the first one in there or calling 911. And it's like I tell the kids I talk to, you know who your friends are and who your friends aren't. you know. Look for red flags. If you hear people saying this guy's like this or this girl's like that, listen to them, you know. I really would listen to them, because I didn't. So that's a big time red flag. Somebody that's doing drugs, you know, like I said, someone that's touchy-feeling, you know, someone that's not doing good in school, you know, that's another thing. You know, kicking it with certain cliques, certain crowds of people that have bad names, you know, and a lot of guys usually rape girls when, you know, sometimes they have bets going on with their friends. Oh, I can have her to win money. I've seen that before too, you know, and you just gotta be careful, you really do. You just gotta be careful who you're friends with and who you go out with, you know.
I know some people say you should go tell people, and I think that's a good idea, but I don't know, I'd be really scared to tell someone. I'd probably tell my friends, and hopefully if they were really good friends, they'd tell someone else for me.
If I was raped, I think I would be really afraid to tell anybody, because I'd be afraid of what they would think of me, or they would probably say it was your fault, or I'd be afraid everyone would just look upon me differently. And I mean, I think my friends would support me, but I'm not sure if my family would.
If I was date raped, I think that the first thing I would do would be to tell someone, like someone that I trust, like my parents or someone like that. I would go to the police and I would go to a doctor just to like make sure that, you know, nothing was wrong, and to like get some physical evidence on the person that did it so that they could find this person so that they couldn't do it to someone else.
When I first turned him in, I wasn't gonna tell him about the rape, because like I said, that was very embarrassing to me. I felt dirty. You know, I had no problem telling about him trying to kill me or anything, but just the rape part was very hard for me. You know, now I speak to kids, you know, at local junior highs, and, you know, about the domestic violence and the gang violence I was involved, you know, and I always get the question, have you ever been raped? And I always tell them I can't answer that question because I don't ever like to get into it, you know. And even with my own therapist, you know, where I live, well, it's very hard for me to talk about it. I never bring that kind of stuff up because I still feel ashamed about it.
If you do everything in your power to not have it happen, that's wrong. It's not your fault at all. Because, I mean, you didn't ask for it. You didn't say, okay, come on, do me or something. You said, like, get off me, or you didn't want it in the first place, and you let them know some way, then they should, like, it's not your fault. It's obvious that it's not your fault.
You shouldn't blame yourself for being raped, because that's basically out of your hands. You can't, if someone forces themselves on you and it's hard to get out of it and you get raped, it's not your fault.
I know, I feel like at the time I could have done something, but I really couldn't have. You know, I was handcuffed to a bed, you know, and I know I'm stupid for ever going back to him and forgiving him, but, you know, everybody makes mistakes, you know, and I'm just mad because he didn't get longer time in prison, you know. And it's to be honest, at times I feel like, why'd I even turn him in, because he's gonna be out, and who's he gonna do it to next? Who's his next victim? You know, that's where I'm at.
We're here at a cell block at the station jail, and the noises you hear in the background are just the everyday noises you would hear in the jail. Keys rattling, doors slamming, people talking, sometimes people yelling. So don't be alarmed about that right now. I'm here to let you know what we do when a person is sexually assaulted or raped. A lot of times the first thing you want to do is take a shower or wash your clothes or throw your clothes away. I understand that, but it's most important that you do not do that. All of those things are very important pieces of evidence that we will need to get from you in order to go forward with the case. The first thing you should do is call your local police or sheriff's station. They will send deputies or police officers out to take a report for you. From there, you will meet them at the hospital, or you'll already be at the hospital, to take a collection of evidence and to obtain a medical exam to make sure that you are physically okay. During the medical exam, it's kind of embarrassing, but it's important, you have a pelvic exam. Now, some of you may not have ever had that before, but that's how they collect the evidence that we need. When the boy or man who committed the assault is arrested, they're put in a jail such as this. My job is to get the report that the deputy first takes at the hospital and to investigate it from there. I interview the victim, the bad guy, the suspect, all witnesses involved, and try to get to the truth. Which reminds me, the most important thing for you to do in any case like this is to tell the truth. No matter if you think some parts will make you look bad, It's most important to tell the truth at first. Then, if anything comes back later, it doesn't make you look bad because you were honest and upfront from the beginning. After all the evidence and facts are collected in the case, I present the case to the district attorney's office, and they decide if they're going to file criminal charges against the suspect.
The decision to pursue prosecution of one's assailant is one of the most constructive and therapeutic means of working through the assault experience. Here is the legal perspective from Deputy District Attorney Ron Geltz.
Once the victim has related her story to a detective, it's now our goal to make sure that the process that occurs in court be as comfortable as is possible given the situation. The detective will bring the victim into our office where we will question the victim about the specifics. This is important to make sure that we can charge the perpetrator of this crime with as many of the crimes as is possible under the law. We'll talk to her in a setting that is unthreatening, in a setting where she can be comfortable, and at most a setting where she can relate everything that she can about this case and not feel embarrassed about it. We'll talk to her and specifically about this for a while, and at that time we'll file charges against the perpetrator. From that point on, the perpetrator will be brought into court to face the charges against him. During the early stages of this procedure, the victim won't have to be in court at all. But at some point later on in the procedure, the victim will have to come to court and testify. But that is also done with the maximum amount of protection for the victim. For one thing, the victim is always allowed to have a support person in court. This can be a friend, a relative, a parent, anybody that they feel comfortable with testifying in front of. Of course, the DA that's questioning the victim will be the same DA that questioned the victim earlier in his or her office. And finally, the detective that also questioned that victim earlier will also be in court at the counsel table right in front of the victim. And all these people will be there for the support of the victim during this traumatic event.
Some of the precautions you could use are really quite clear and quite easy, and often teens don't think about them. Go out in groups. Don't go out alone unless you know the other person very, very, very well.
I think you should be like in a group of friends. If you go somewhere like out on a date with someone you don't know, like a blind date, you should go with more than one person. And you shouldn't like go with, because even girls can be raped by other girls. I mean, you shouldn't just go with one person everywhere unless you really know who they are. And even if you really know them, they could still do that to you. So like just be like an environment where there's a lot of people around. And don't like isolate yourself from everyone when you're with someone, like in a lone place. You should be like, for your first date, you should go out like to the mall or somewhere where there's a lot of people that will see you and you won't be like off in a corner somewhere.
Listen and pay attention to what the other person says. Do not do drugs and alcohol when you're out on a date. Tell someone where you're going and who you're going with. Pay attention to boundaries.
I've been in a situation where I was almost raped, and the guy just kept forcing me to do something I didn't want to do, and I told him to stop, and basically all I could do was push him off me, and I was alone with him, so I didn't know what else to do, and luckily he stopped.
I advise, what I would say is, I mean, it depends on how old you are too, have your parents or whatever take you out to the movies or something, wherever you guys want to go. Have a certain time to be picked up. Just make sure you're always in a crowd full of people. I mean, I suggest not to kiss somebody on the first date, or, be all affectionate, hands, holding hands. Well, I don't know about holding hands, it could lead to it, but, just real touchy feeling if the guy or even the girl's putting her hand on or his hand on your leg. That's not right. That's over, stepping your boundaries. And if you tell him to stop and he keeps on doing it, you got a real problem. That's a red flag right there. If he wants to take you home, and I would seriously, if I would have your mom pick you up or your dad or somebody, or never be by yourself with them. That's my suggestion, and just be very careful. You'll know the red flags. If you have, another thing I want to say too, if you have that gut reaction, that gut feeling, if something's not right, you need to follow that. Because I didn't, and I had a gut feeling that night telling me there's something not wrong, and like what happened. But just be very, very cautious at all times, and you can kind of tell, sometimes about, like I said, the gut stuff, the gut reactions and stuff. If that person, is bad or not after a while.
If someone was trying to rape me, I would do anything to get them off. I mean, I'd punch, I'd scream, I'd kick, I'd pull hair, I'd scratch him, I'd do something just to get him off of me.
The perpetrator of a sexual assault crime is facing some very serious consequences. What will happen first is that when he is brought into court, he will be told of the charges that he is facing. He will then be usually kept in custody for the remainder of the court proceedings because bail in these situations is usually very high. He will be brought into court at some point to face his accuser, and the victim will have to testify usually twice regarding this incident. Once at a small hearing in which there is no jurors, but later on at usually a jury trial in which jurors are present. But assuming a person is convicted after that testimony, this defendant is then facing up to 8 years in either the youth authority or a state prison for each separate incident or crime that was committed, even if there are multiple crimes committed against the same victim. That person would also have to register as a sex offender, and that registration is long past the time a person would have to stay in prison. That registration is for the rest of their lives, which means that they would have to tell people this depending on the jobs and other situations in which they were to try to obtain later in their life.
Look for red flags. If you hear people saying this guy's like this or this girl's like that, listen to them, you know? I really would listen to them, because I didn't.